charge for them, but if you can't afford it, just ask them for free. We'll give it to you. Give you to keep lights on, and help pay the missionaries to do stuff like that. But we're not here to make money. We don't do this kind of stuff. It's idiocy. So receive faith right here. I hate that. It's garbage. So I don't believe in that at all. So anyway, if you want to support us, you can do that too. Just go to the CARM website, CARM.org. In the right-hand side, you will see support us. And that's what we ask. If you want to, good. If you don't, that's okay. That's all right. And that's the way that goes. Again, 4 open lines. 877-207-2276. Let's get on the phone with Nate from California. Nate, welcome. You're on the air.
It's my throat. I'm not sick. It's just
Okay, no problem.
What could I say? I'm epileptic and
It's all right.
I have a little problem there.
My dad was a stutterer. My dad was a stutterer. I have no problem with stuff like that. No biggie. So,
I hope you understand me. I hope you at least put them in letters if they come out right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Christianity, the book Christianity in Crisis
Mm-hmm.
by Hank Hanegraaff. There are so many people there that I am against, which I think is a good book. What do you think about that book?
I've met Hank, and he used to work at CRI or do volunteer work with him. I knew the guy Perry, who did most of the research for that book. At least I used to know him. And Kenneth Copeland is a flaming heretic. Benny Hinn is a flaming heretic. And there are more since that book came out years ago that are just heretics that should never be supported. Joel Osteen should not be supported either. He's just not a good teacher at all, false teacher. Joyce Meyer teaches heresy. A lot of people teach heresy out there. And people like me don't get invited to speak very often at very many places because I might say things like that might upset people who, have their finger up in the wind, say which way the doctrinal wind blows that day and follow that. So I think there's a lot of good in the book. The documentation, the version of the book that I have is from years and years ago, and the appendix is super valuable. A lot of good stuff in there. So, okay.
I am glad because I have the old book also, and I had it signed by him because I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I truly liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And because I'm into apologetics, because I like it.
Well, too bad Hank went south. He went to the Eastern Orthodox side. And,
yeah, no, that's the thing.
Yeah, bad news.
I would like to ask another question. I hope you don't mind.
Sure.
I see you, because I know you know apologetics, and if I'm correct, are you a pastor?
I'm an ex-pastor. I used to be a pastor.
You're an ex-pastor.
Yeah, seminary graduate. I'm ordained and stuff like that.
Well, that's good. Well, you're a great pastor. I have to say that.
I don't know about that.
If you have to do it, but certainly. If you can answer questions, why can't Joel Osteen get people to ask him questions?
Because it will ask two difficult questions. If I could interview him for 10 minutes, I would ask him questions that would make him look bad, not for the purpose of making him look bad, but for the purpose of simply showing that he's not a good pastor. Now, a lot of people who hear
he's a terrible pastor.
He is. He's horrible. What he does, he's an ear tickler.
I don't know why. Well, I don't know. I think it's money. People who love money, he has a humongous house with an airplane, and I go, there, that'd be nice.
Well, he doesn't preach the full gospel. He doesn't preach and teach the full gospel message. He doesn't preach about sin.
So many people. I would just like to ask him, why does he think Mormons and Christians are the same?
Well, he knows they're not. But he did say Mormons at one point would go to heaven. There were Christians, and he thinks the Catholic Church is fine. And he is absolutely not qualified to be a pastor. Flat out.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell another one if you don't mind. You know how what's his name, Benny Hinn?
He's a heretic.
Massive. But he says he has healed people and stuff. Why doesn't he go to people to hospitals with people with cancer?
Because it would make money that way. He's a charlatan. Benny Hinn is a complete charlatan. Flat out charlatan. All right? He is not to be trusted.
I'm so glad you are so correct. And I don't apologize because it is true. Last question. It's not about the Bible, excuse me, but it's about the government. I'm an American. I mean, I wasn't born here. I came here from Cuba.
Okay.
Became a citizen. But the thing is that my family is so conservative, very conservative, and true Christian. Why are the church, not the churches, the prisons here and the judges give people who assassinate, who rape, who do so much things, to give them life plus life, and what is that, reincarnation? I've seen the prisons. They have TV. They have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. People who are citizens like me pay taxes for them.
Well, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, why are the prisons like that?
Well, they're trying to be humane, but the Bible teaches about prisons. It doesn't talk about imprisonment in that sense very much, but the idea is to pay restitution for what it is that you've done. And this is what the model is. But I did 9 years of prison ministry, been in all kinds of different prisons at different levels of security, and I've seen a lot of it on the inside. I never had to live there, etc. But I'm not an expert on that, so I can't really talk to you much about it. But with a society where God is not in the heart, then people have to be put in prison. And this is an unfortunate reality. And as our country degrades because it doesn't have God in its heart, and because Christians are more concerned with getting money and health than preaching the gospel to the lost, then we're going to have continued crisis. There's going to be more problems going. Well, prisons will be overpopulated like they are. It's just the way it is. Okay.
Well, I think differently. I think they have. Me. I think they should have no TV, no nothing, and stuff like that.
Well, I'm not an expert on that, but the idea is that that it need to be rehabilitated to some extent. But I hear you.
The reason why I say that is because my dad, my uncle, and several of my cousins, they when Castro was trying to take over, took over Cuba, they fought against them. They were put in jail. And they truly suffered. My dad didn't want to tell me everything, but he told me that he really, really suffered.
Okay.
And he saw a documentary.
Okay, wait. Okay, do you have a question? Do you have a question, though? Could we have people in line waiting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize. I just want to say that your ministry is great. Keep it up. And I pray that that everything goes well with everything. God bless you and your family, and keep it up, man, because you do a great job.
Well, thank you, and that's only by God's grace. I pray every day before the show and ask God to give me wisdom and answers and things like that. But the goal is to equip the body of Christ.
I so much apologize because I'm epileptic. I forget about this.
It's all right.
Have you ever heard of the magazine Grace and Focus?
No, I haven't.
Something like that.
No, I haven't. But I tell you what, we got callers waiting, so I want to move along, okay? But
All right. Well,
Call again,
I'll
mate.
call again some other time.
Okay, bud.
But thank you for your answer, your correct answer.
Okay, well, good, man.
God bless.
God bless. Talk to you
God
later.
bless.
Okay. All right. Let's get on the phones with Jerichiah from Texas. Jerichiah, welcome. You're on the air.
Hey, Matt. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right, by God's grace. What do you got, man?
Hey, so I got a question. I basically came out of an evidential approach to apologetics.
Okay.
I ended up, a friend recommended me to listening to Bonson's debate with Stein.
Yeah, that was quite a debate,
And so I
wasn't
was
it?
just like,
Yeah.
yes, it was. I was completely shocked because I was so used to the evidential and classical approach. I never really understood what presuppositionalism was. And so I began studying it, and I got Bonson's books on presuppositionalism, pushing the antithesis, and Dr. Jason Lyle, his book on presuppositional apologetics. So this is my question to you, Matt. I'm just curious about this. I've never seen from the debates I've watched, with Matt Dillahunty and other atheists, right? I've never seen a refutation of presuppositionalism, but I see always a misrepresentation, and they mischaracterize our position. And so my question to you would be is if you have somebody who understands the approach, right? And they say, well, you know what? You appeal to your God. I'll appeal to the spaghetti monster.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
And the spaghetti monster is the foundation.
Yes.
Apart from the
It's
spaghetti
easy.
monster, you can't make sense.
Yeah, it's easy to dismantle that. It's very easy. But go ahead.
So I'm just curious because I've met atheists who've understood the argument, and they've tried to flip it on me, say, well,
Okay, great. Here you do. You ready?
Without belief in the spaghetti monster, you cannot provide the preconditions necessary for human intelligibility, etc. All
Right. They're going to propose what's called the flying spaghetti monster. So after the break, I'll tell you how to deal with that. Very easy. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, we're right after these messages. We don't have any open lines, but the number is 877-207-2276. Be right back.
Next time on Focus on the Family, Dr. Tony Evans explains what it means to have a kingdom marriage under God's authority and for His glory. He shares about maintaining oneness, the importance of having a servant's heart, and how to rebuild a marriage relationship that's been fractured. God's wisdom for your marriage on the next Focus on the Family.
Join us this week for a call to the nation with Carter Conlon from Times Square Church in New York City.
I do thank God for the role that the Lord gave me to play in the development and ongoing journey of this church. But I honestly believe the best days are just ahead.
Plan to join us here every week as Carter Conlon reminds us that when we don't understand or comprehend all that's taking place in our world,
you have felt the excitement of a big event drawing near, perhaps a wedding or the birth of a child. But how eager are you for a future event that is just as certain and far more magnificent? John MacArthur helps heighten your anticipation for Christ's return in his series titled Jesus is Coming, this week on Grace to You.
Many of us are yet to discover the power of the word because we're still discussing it rather than stepping out on it.
Dr. Tony Evans says there's a world of difference between dialoguing and doing.
Because faith for the Christian is acting like God is telling the truth.
Finding blessings when and where we least expect them. All this week on The Alternative with Dr. Tony Evans.
If you're looking for a great verse about the basics of the gospel, head straight for the letter called 1 Timothy. Hello, I'm Chuck Swindoll. Paul wrote this to his younger friend. There is one God and one mediator also between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself as a ransom for all. Don't you just love that? One mediator, and that's Christ. He paid the price for all. Do you have any idea how many people think they've got to keep on striving and hoping that somehow God will finally accept them? Hey, there's one God and one mediator who gave himself a ransom for all.
Pastor and teacher Chuck Swindoll. Visit Insight for Living's website at insight.org. It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Let's get back on the air with Jeremiah from Texas. Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, it's easy to defeat. There's different ways to do it. When sometimes atheists will bring up the flying spaghetti monster, for some reason, they tend not to do that with me anymore. I wonder why. So I'll say to them, wait a minute. Are you telling me that spaghetti can fly? The flying spaghetti monster. So you're telling me spaghetti can fly. I just want to hear about this because it's really interesting. How'd you come up with this? And, we'll talk a little bit. I'll say, so you're telling me that the spaghetti, it's a monster. So does it have teeth and it goes and chase you? So is this what you're going to postulate as a replacement for the infinitely holy, omniscient, omnipotent God? This is what you got? This is what you're offering me? Doesn't go very far after that, does it? You there?
Yeah, yes, I am, and the reason why I say that is because, for instance, they'll say, well, yes, you appeal to logic, that your God provides the necessary preconditions for logic, uniformity of nature, absolute ethical values, all that stuff. So they appeal to something unknown as well, and they'll just basically.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. If it's unknown, how do they know it's there? I've had them say this to me. Well, we appeal to something we don't know about. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. You don't know it's there, so you're appealing to it? You want me to take you seriously? You want me to argue with you, and you're going to say that you're going to appeal to something you don't know about as a way to refute something that we do know about? Okay, come on, you got to do better. Please come up with something else. It's like shooting fish on a barrel. I'm serious. You take what they say and you analyze what they say. Now, what they will do generally is get away from the flying spaghetti monster thing. And they'll say, well, I'm just going to say that there is a being out there that is conscious, that is omniscient, omnipotent, and eternal, but is not your God. And I'll say, so you're just going to make this up, right? Okay, so let me get this straight. So what you're saying is that that our God is omniscient, omnipotent, and eternal, but you're saying it's not the Christian God, but it's somehow an omniscient, omnipotent, eternal being? Yep, and you're an atheist, right? Is that what you're saying? You're an atheist who's positing a God to argue against me about God? How's that working in your atheism? How are you being an atheist in positing the idea of a God to argue from your atheist perspective? And I say, take your right hand and put it in front of your face. And they'll go, what? Yeah, put your right hand in front of your face. Now look to your left and then slap yourself upside the head until that leaves, because you're not doing well. Oh, I have fun with atheists because it's so easy. Seriously.
And I just wanted to hear what you had to say about that, because I actually came across somebody who, we were engaging in apologetic, and I was just sharing the gospel with him at the same time. And every time he was like, oh, you're a presuppositionalist. And so he just kept appealing, spaghetti monster, to different things, and saying, well, if you appeal to your God for the foundation of logic, well, I appeal to mine for the foundation of logic.
Good. Just so you guys know, my browser went wiggy on the Comrex. I'm going to close it and open it up, get back in. So when they posit a God of any kind, then you say, please tell me what characteristics it has. Now, I can't. Yeah, I am not able to see. I could get back in different. Hold on a second. We got a little tech problem here. Let me work on it while I'm talking to you. What you have to do is ask them to tell you what the characteristics are of that God. List them out. Is it omniscient or not or omniscient? Is it omnipotent or not omnipotent? Please tell me what the characteristics are of this being, this God. Okay? Yeah.
Well, there's another one of those technical faux pas that happens from time to time in a Christian broadcast that's giving sound answers as to why to believe God's word and have faith in the God of the Bible. Sometimes it's more than just a technical fluke, in that it happens more often than you would expect, simply by chance or coincidence. So you might want to pray for the ministry of Carm and that it comes back on the air here. Matt is usually pretty quick in rebooting his system. He's got a fine system that he's built. Let's see. I'm just hoping he'll get back in here, because I see that there's some questions in the line that are very interesting questions. And the one the person he was just talking to had a good one. You might be able to get a radio stream, since we lost it here on this stream. You might be able to get it on the radio link, which I can drop in here for you. And I'm going to check it myself, tell you the truth, and see if it, whoops, I lost it. Well, you have it. And I'm going to see if I can bring that up. Ah, there he is. Okay, here we go. Whoops.
No, because there are far better books out there than what I can produce. See, my way of writing is different. The way I write is I just get to the point. I do not like reading articles where you have to read for 5 days before you get an answer to the question. What I do is I just read, I just go straight to the point, straight to the truth of what the Word of God says.
Sorry again. Well, we had him there for a minute, but without audio. There we go. Come on in, Matt.
There we go. So I'm back in with everything that went wrong. Atheistica is a novella. It's a small novel. You can read it in a couple hours, and it's about I'll explain why I'm bringing this up now. It's about an island that forms in the Pacific, and a super rich billionaire atheist guy buys the island and builds a utopian atheist society. And things start going wrong, and they get what's called a contrarian. And a contrarian is part of what the rich guy in his computer field developed, a program that would find holes in his security area, and so he was able to make better product. That's why he became the richest guy in the world, or whatever. So they get the same thing involved in an atheist philosopher who swears to do the same thing, to be a contrarian and find problems in their solutions to the problems that are arising on the island. And all he does is use logic, and he dismantles them. So there's a little bit of presuppositionalism in there as well, and it gets plot twists and things like that, and there people like it. So it's called Atheistica. You can check it out. Okay, it might help. All right, bud.
Okay.
All right, man. Okay, God bless. Hey, sorry about the interruption there, folks. I had a little bit of a technical problem, and it's taken care of. May the Lord bless you. Be right back after these messages. Please stay tuned.
This is Ann Graham Lotz with Daily Light for Daily Living. Have your thoughts been similar to these? God, where have you been? Why did you let this happen? I just don't understand. Are you overlooking the fact that Jesus has drawn near to you? Are you blinded to his presence by your tears? Are you deafened to his gentle voice by your own accusations? Listen to me. While God doesn't always protect those he loves from suffering or answer prayers the way we ask, he does promise in his word that he will be present with us in the midst of our suffering and pain. Isaiah 43, 1-4 says, "Fear not. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. For I am the Lord, your God, your Savior. You are precious and honored in my sight, and I love you." God is with you right now, right there. This is Anne Graham Lotz.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tata, and I found unusual comfort yesterday in Isaiah chapter 55. God is speaking about the way he works, and he says, instead of the thorn bush, a cypress will come up. Instead of the briar, a myrtle will come up. What's he saying there? Well, when sadness is a thorn in your side and your burdens become thorn bushes tearing at your heart, the Lord walks among that thicket, transforming those very troubles into sweet cypress and fragrant myrtle, shady places of rest and grace. God has power today to transform the very things that hurt you into a means of grace and blessing in your life, all because Jesus is in that painful, thorny place with you. So do not force your way through the thorns, only wounding yourself more. Do not plunge deeper into the thicket. Calmly sit down before it and wait on Jesus to turn it into a cool grove with his presence.
It's time now for the Mefford Minute with Janet Mefford.
As leftists push for mail-in voting in November, Wisconsin is showing why it's such a bad idea. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reports that the U.S. Postal Service has identified hundreds of absentee ballots for the April election that never made it to voters or couldn't be counted because of postmark problems. As Hot Air pointed out, this wasn't a matter of a few random errors. One town tracked 3 full tubs of ballots that never reached voters in time to fill out or return. One mail carrier delivered hundreds of blank ballots to the county election office rather than voters. And in Milwaukee, a large number of requested absentee ballots were never even printed, much less delivered. Given the kind of voter fraud we already know about from past elections, how much more incompetence or outright corruption could come from a coronavirus-inspired mail-in election nationwide? It's a bad idea. All the more reason to keep the polls open. I'm Janet Mefford.
For more of Janet's perspective, listen to Janet Mefford today or online at janetmefford.com.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, but welcome back to the show. Let's get on the air with Dr. G.E. Carlin from Arizona. There you go. Welcome. You're on the air.
How you doing, Matt?
Doing all right.
Hey, how you doing? Good. I listened to your refutation of the preterist today while I was at work, and I just thought it was brilliant, and just wanted to thank you for that. I used to be, I was a partial preterist. I was an Orthodox preterist, but I'm not a preterist anymore. But you know what? What's interesting is, you know what preterism and Jehovah's Witnesses have in common?
No. Tell me.
They have the same type of failed hermeneutic, and it's a logical fallacy that says if I can prove X, I've automatically disproven Y. So a Jehovah's Witness will go, well, I can prove that Jesus was a man, therefore I've disproved that he's God. Well, that's a logical fallacy. And the same thing happens with preterists. They say, well, I can prove that some scriptures are about AD 70. Well, then, therefore, no scriptures are about the end of the world and the return of Christ. And they suffer from the same hermeneutical problem that the Jehovah's Witnesses, well, at least, I mean, that's one of the many problems, I'm sure.
Right, false exclusion.
Anyway, I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wanted to run by you, now this, I say this with some trepidation because I know if there's anything new, it's not true, and if it's true, it's not new, but I have a zinger for the Jehovah's Witnesses out there. One of those ones that kind of leave them with their jaws, hanging open, like I've heard you do. And I've never heard this from anywhere else. I mean, that doesn't mean that nobody else has used it. This means I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard anybody else use it. And it comes from And I want to know if you've heard this before or not, if you've heard this argumentation, but I use this a lot. This is actually the first place I go when I'm talking to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
And that is Philippians chapter 2 and verse 6 and verse 7. And I kind of just read it through because you know how we read the Bible. We kind of just read it through and let the words kind of follow over it. And I say to them, who though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant. And I stopped right there and I asked him, I said, now what does form of servant mean? Does that mean he kind of looked like a servant? Does that mean he kind of, and they'll generally concede that form of a servant means truly a servant. Then I said, well, this form of a servant means truly a servant, and form of God means truly God. And I've never heard them answer.
That's
that.
good.
They don't want to talk after that one. So I don't know if you ever heard that one or
not.
No,
I haven't.
I've never heard it from anybody else.
So let me get this straight. So form of a servant, what does that mean? They'll say he looked like a servant. And then here it says form of God.
Well, I'll ask him. I said, does it mean he just looked like a servant? And they'll say, no, it means he was truly a servant. It means, so form of a servant means truly a servant. And they'll say, yes. I said, well, then form of God means truly God.
Okay. I like that.
Anyway.
Well, here's one that I use that's
add that to your...
I like one here's another one that's quick and slick. I'll say, does the term son of God mean he's not God? And they'll say, that's correct, it does. Then what does the term son of man mean?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Or you can
I like your one with that he's a priest forever, and a priest has to be a man, and they don't believe he's
right.
They believe he's abandoned his manhood and gone off to be the Archangel Michael again.
Well, here's the thing. It's also the issue of continuity, because if I take a chair and I break it, a wooden chair, and break it apart, and I turn it into a rocking horse, is it still a chair? No, it's not. Its nature is no longer that of a chair. So if an angel becomes a man, it's no longer an angel, correct? Then it's lost its existence as an angel. So then you're going to have the cessation of the angel, and then the creation of a man, and then in JW theology, it's reversed. Jesus stops existing and then becomes an angel again. So there is no Jesus, there is no mediator, period. And they say, well, he's an angel. Wait, he has two natures? He's angel and man at the same time? If they were to ever say yes, well, then why can't he be God and man at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any debates with the preterists?
I have impromptu debates like yesterday where that guy couldn't, he didn't know logic. And it stumped him. But, with other, I don't know. I've got so many, I got done a lot of stuff. I don't know if I got it or not. No formal debates with preterists, though. But to me, Acts 1, 9 through 11, it just kills them. And that's where I'm going to camp out and just say, analyze it backwards and forwards. And like I did with that guy yesterday, he had to abandon it. And then it was called illegitimate totality transfer. Take the word cloud in another place and say, just transfer over the meaning over here. You don't do that. It's just, anyway, bad stuff.
Right. Yeah, well, they come up with the most ridiculous things. I've heard somebody say, when I brought that up, where it says he's going to come back the way he left.
Yeah.
And they say, yeah, well, he came back in a cloud, so he's coming back as a cloud. And I said, well, this is ridiculous. If I get in my car and I leave and I tell my son I'm coming back the way I left, I mean, I'm coming back in a car.
Just as you have seen.
I'm coming back as a car.
Well, yeah, it'd be like saying, just as you have seen, Dr. Carlin get into the car and drive west, from there you will see him come back just the same way as you saw him left. They'd go, oh, he's going to come back from the west in his car. Yeah, it's simple. No, the word west and the word car over here means such and such. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay.
That's like taking a city that's in the west and saying, oh, that he's going to come back as the city because there's a city in the west, and maybe euphemistically it's used that way on occasion.
Right.
So anyway, but thank you for all your work. I've been a long time listener, first time caller, and I appreciate what you do. Maybe I'll call more often. And,
please do.
Talk with you about some stuff.
Okay.
All right, man.
All right, man.
Take
God
care.
bless.
God bless.
You too. God bless. All right, that was Dr. G.E. Carlin from Arizona. Let's get on the phone with Joel from New York. Joel, welcome. You are on the air.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Oh, I'm good by God's grace. What do you got, buddy?
That's awesome. So God saves, God predestines, God chooses, God foreknows. Salvation is totally a work of God.
Yes.
Is it unreasonable? And if not, why not? For me or for someone to pray for the salvation of someone else. Like, Lord, I am praying for this. I know I can pray for anything I want, but God, I want this person to be saved. Can you please save this person?
Yeah.
If it's all God's work and will, does that even make sense?
Yes, because we don't understand how God chooses elect, how it all works. We just don't know. We know that God says he does that, but we don't know the methodology. We don't know what he's done. We don't know how it works. Now, Molinists try and answer the question, and they raise, in my opinion, some heretical ideas. They demote God. But here's the thing. I believe in predestination election because the Bible teaches predestination election. That's what it teaches. I have to believe it. But I also pray, God, if they're not elect, please elect them. And what I'm saying is, I don't know how it works. It's above my pay grade. So I pray for the salvation of people all the time. And I'm not going to say that God looks into the future to know what my prayers will be, and because of Christ, then he considers them. No. I think it's way beyond that. I just don't know how it works. And I just pray for the salvation of people. And here's the thing. What's odd is the more we preach, the more people seem to be elected for salvation. So there's a power to the word of God. And we have that freedom to be able to preach and teach that power of that word. And we know that, and the idea of knowing about election predestination is really helpful, because when you preach to somebody, you know it's not just up to their sinfully enslaved free will, but you're asking God for his grace and mercy, just as he opened the heart of Lydia for her to understand the words that Paul was saying in the gospel message. That's Acts 16:14, where God grants that we believe, Philippians 1:29. And he grants us repentance, 2 Timothy 2:25. This is what the Bible says. So I pray that God would do that. And my wife and I regularly pray, our nightly prayers. We pray that God would grant people belief, grant them repentance, grant them that salvation. That's what it says.
The truth is, and I basically take that position and I pray for people. Sometimes I see people that my heart just goes out for, and I'm like, God, and I'm saying literally, like, God, I don't know how this works, but would you save that person?
Right.
But that's so. How effective could possibly this prayer be?
The prayers.
And I hear what you're saying, and we're obedient to the word. But the truth is, that person is going to be saved whether I pray or not be saved whether I pray or not. Right?
Maybe. We don't know what God has ordained and how he's ordained. So I just say, at that point, I mean, I could understand the yes behind it, but I'm going to say maybe and just go with that for now. Okay? We can expand
I
our
got
time.
you. Thank you.
All right, Joel. God bless, man. Hey, folks, we have 2 open lines. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. Be right back after these messages.
According to Jeffrey Dean, there are some moms and dads who are too concerned about trying to be friends with their teenagers.
We don't parent based upon how we think our kids will respond to our parenting. I think that's really important. I have to remind myself of that, because my daughters don't always like me. And I got to be okay with that. I got to love them so much that I'm okay if they don't like me.
Strategies for raising successful teens this week on Family Life Today.
Have you ever looked and looked for something, but it's nowhere to be found? Well, next on Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram, Chip says we can do that with love. We look for it in all the wrong places, which is why the deepest longings in our heart are rarely satisfied. If you're tired of looking for love and are ready to find it right where it's been all along, don't miss Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram. That's Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram.
According to the Apostle John, unconstrained love can become dangerous. Ahead from Chuck Swindoll,
Charles Ryrie was right when he said love is like a river, and it flows between the banks of truth and discernment. However, when it floods and leaves those banks, it becomes a dangerous thing.
Join us when Chuck Swindoll helps us understand the beauty and boundaries of love. Weekdays on Insight for Living.
I think there's really two things. I mean, the first is that you have to have grace for yourself.
Your older child may be making some decisions you don't agree with. Carrie Trent Stageberg has some encouragement for you on Focus on the Family Minute.
And realize that this is, I think for me especially, I didn't realize until after how much I had hurt people. It wasn't about them, and I wasn't doing it to hurt them. I was caught up in my own hurt. And I think sometimes when someone is so broken, they don't realize that impact. So I think have grace for yourself, know that it's not your fault, and that your kid is what they're doing that's hurtful. It may not be intentional. And I think the second part of that really is just that God will never stop pursuing them. And he never quit with me. He's not going to quit with your kid.
Trust God in all things, especially for your children. More from Carrie at FamilyMinute.org.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
If your value is dependent on your title, if your value is dependent on your net worth, if your value is dependent on what you wear, if your value is dependent on where you live, I want to tell you right now, take it from me, it will never, never, never bring you contentment.
Be challenged this week on Leading the Way.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. Let's get on the line here with Adrian from Michigan. Adrian, welcome. You're on the air.
Matt Slick, how are you?
Doing all right, hanging in there, man. What's up?
Hey, got a question for you.
Okay.
I wanted to know if you were familiar with a claim by people, I don't know if you heard this before, but the CIA presenting, I guess declassified information regarding to Genesis. And it was, I guess, referring to, there was an account prior to Genesis, before the Genesis as we know it.
You mean there's a writing? You mean a writing, or there's supposed to be an earlier writing? I'm not sure I understand an account. I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, it was like and there we go, an earlier writing, regarding to Genesis, and I guess it was supposed to be like,
Job was written. Job was penned before the book of Genesis was by Moses. It's the oldest Hebrew.
Right. Okay. So here's what this says, Matt. What it says is Genesis. I guess there was an account prior to that, maybe 4,500. No, not 4,500. Excuse me, 45 billion years ago.
Oh.
And the Genesis account that we have is like much later. And actually, if you go to CIA.org, like it's there. I saw the claim on Facebook, right? So I said, let me check this out. So I go to CIA's website, and I guess there's like these documents about it, and they actually show like Genesis 1, 2, and 3 that was written prior to the Genesis 1, 2, and 3 that we were aware of, and so on and so forth. So I guess I was just trying to see how to address it.
Well, I've never heard that before with the CIA. I don't think that CIA.org is CIA. Okay, and it's going to be a fake site. All right, it's checked and it's under construction. So it'll be a government thing, and the CIA, I wouldn't put any credence in that whatsoever. Okay, people can just say things and attach stuff, but no, why would the CIA have information about biblical matters from before the time of Genesis? It doesn't make any sense. They deal with foreign policy, other nations outside of our own, and they're busy with that. So, yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say, Matt. I'm sorry, not to cut you off. I meant to say that it was CIA.gov, so, but again, like you said, I'm like, why would it be there? You know what I mean? I don't know. It just didn't make sense, but I was just looking at, I guess, how do we address it? I guess with some of the information that I just recently saw today,
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I haven't heard of it. So can't tell you anything. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it just goes to show that, people will believe whatever they want to believe. I saw somebody posted the documentary on Facebook, so it's just like, and I didn't take it. I took it still as a grain of salt, but I still wanted to go ahead and look into it,
Well, they say everything on the internet is true. So, yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, buddy. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, bye.
All right.
All right, let's get on the phones with James from Iowa. James, welcome. You are on the air.
Hello, Matt.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. What do you got?
Wonderful. So, I, just my thought process is I figured I'd save this one for you. Mary. Why? I would figure that there'd be an account of Jesus by Mary. Seems how she's his mother and probably knows him best. But there's not one in the Bible that I know of. What do you think about that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. An account of Mary. You mean something that Mary wrote?
Like there's a book of Mary in the Bible.
Oh, something that Mary would have written.
What she...
because most probably she couldn't read or write. Probably. Because she's married to Joseph. Joseph was a carpenter. And I don't know if he could or could not write, but it would seem to me that she couldn't. Generally speaking, women didn't back then. So, that doesn't mean, though, that someone couldn't have written down some of the things that she said. But unlike the idolatrous Roman Catholic Church, the Christian Church knew better than to focus on a creature, but to focus on Jesus. And so...
I figured it sounded very Catholic when I was thinking about it. Another question that kind of goes along with that. The disciple of Jesus, James, was that Jesus' brother?
Well, the Catholics are going to say no, but I believe it's the same. That Mary was a good Jewish woman, and she had other children, because to have other children was a blessing from the Lord. And in Matthew 1:25, it says he kept her a virgin until she gave birth to a son and called his name Jesus. Now, what the Catholics will do is say, well, the word until can mean different things, and they go to other places in the scripture where it says the word until over here means continuing. So it can mean that here. And, all it is them changing the meaning of the text that's right there. If I were to say to somebody, I kept my wife a virgin until our wedding night, we would know exactly what that meant. And it's no different here. He kept her virgin until she gave birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. So somehow the Catholics come across this idea that if Mary lost her virginity, that somehow she's not pure. Really? Since God is the one who invented sexual relations, within marriage, it's pure. So there's no problem there. So this idea of a perpetual virginity issue is non-biblical and unnecessary, and has led to idolatrous practices within the Roman Catholic Church. As they say, they attribute to Mary things that are just so ridiculous. The seat of wisdom, No better way to conclude than by looking to Mary, in paragraph 942 of the Catechism. Just ridiculous stuff. So they promote idolatry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're idolaters.
Well, my thought process brings me there, because I'm thinking at some early age in Jesus' life, he must have been like, okay, guys, Mom, Joseph, family, get around. I'm the Messiah. But you can't tell anybody.
Well,
which is why I was
no, hold on. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that Jesus must have said this and said you can't do this. I wouldn't put words in Jesus' mouth. It's just not what I would do.
That's definitely a good call. That's why I'm calling you.
Yeah. So what we do know is that Mary and Joseph lost Jesus during a caravan. Now, a lot of people don't understand. This is just to defend them. To lose Jesus was not a negligence on their part at all, because extended families would travel in caravans, and they wouldn't be 2 camels, they'd be 30, 40, 50 camels, and they would travel from one place, or they would travel in even by foot, and sometimes be wagon drawn by an animal. It could be an ox, it could be a mule. And so their son, Jesus, could have easily gone over to one of the relatives and stayed with them for hours or a couple of days. It was not unheard of until they realized, well, wait a minute, he's not with you. I thought he was with you. No, I thought he was with you. That kind of a thing. They went looking for him. So it was just part of the culture. And then in Luke 2, he was in the Father's house. So he knew he was early. Very early. And,
I'm figuring that since one of his, or the first recorded miracle, the water into wine, that was his mother saying, Jesus, I know you can do this. So she must have already knew.
Oh, yeah. It's typical. It's typical in the Gospels that the women knew who Jesus was before the men did. It's pretty typical. And so it is. I think it'd be an interesting study to find that out. She knew beforehand. And when the men were hiding, the women were saying, hey, he's risen. And they had information that the men often didn't have. And they provided information. They were kind of aware a little bit sooner than a lot of the men. And so then when the men got a hold of it, get out of their way. The world's changed. But there you go. Okay? All right, man?
Absolutely. I really appreciate all that you do, Matt. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and God bless.
All right, man. Well, God bless, buddy. All right. Good. That was James from Iowa. Let's go on the phone with Chris from North Carolina. Chris, welcome. You are on the air. What do you got, man?
Hey, thank you, man. I have a friend who's a Sabbath keeper and says that the mark of the beast is going to be those that worship on Sunday. I obviously don't believe this, but my question is, where do they get this from?
Boy, I got a couple off comments I was going to make, but I can't. Let's just say that what I would do, I would ask. I would ask them, can you show me that in the Bible? Show me that in the Bible where it says the mark of the beast is that, because it says the mark of the beast is on the right hand of the forehead. So why do you say that keeping the day holy that Jesus himself rose from the dead on, and that they worship there, and that the early church, 1 Corinthians 16:2, for example, started worshiping and serving God on that day? And the Didache, the only thing I'm really kind of putting credence in, the Didache was written by it looks like by the apostles of the apostles, or the disciples of the apostles. We're not exactly sure. It was written like 60 or 70 or 80 AD, when the apostles, many of them were still alive. And the Didache talks about Sunday worship, from what I understand, or what I'm trying to remember. So ask them, prove it from Scripture. That's all. And they can't. Okay?
Yeah, and one thing I will say also, as far as the Sunday worship, whenever you try to show that the early disciples that were worshiping on Sunday, the rebuttal is that no, they were actually worshiping on the Sabbath, worship through the night, until they got to Sunday.
Oh, so they were worshiping through the night, which means the next day was Sunday when they were worshiping?
Well, that's what that was the defense that I was given.
Yeah. So also you admit that they were worshiping on Sunday. Okay. Well, what I'll also do is go to, actually it's in it's the Didache, chapter 14, 1. But on the Lord's Day, that's Sunday. After that, you have assemble together, break bread, give thanks, having addition, confess your sins, that your sacrifice might be pure. The Lord's Day is Sunday. The Didache very early is saying that. Not that it makes it true, but it's just a very, 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 very early attestation. And if it was wrong, then why is it not corrected in the New Testament? No, you got to worship on the Sabbath. If anything, in Romans 14, 1 through 12, what we find, is that Paul says that one man worships on one day, another one worships on every day alike, considers them different and every day alike. Let each man be fully convinced in his own mind. So I ask him, I say, is the Sabbath part of every day? This is Romans 14, 5. One person regards one day above another regards every day alike. So I ask him, does every day include Saturday and Sunday? Because they say no. Well, it's not every day, is it? Of course it does. Each person must be fully convinced in his own mind. Why is Paul saying that one man regards one day above another regards every day equally? You must be convinced in your own mind. This would mean that it's supportive of Sunday worship or Tuesday worship. So Romans
So,
14:5.
and that was always my defense back to him as well. But again, he would say, well, the law was never, obliterated. The law's still out there, and then I ask questions. Well,
wait a minute.
Two types of law. Where's that line?
You got to go to Hebrews 8:13 and Hebrews 9:15 through 16, the abrogation of the Old Testament law, and it's ended. The abrogation began, let's just say, with the death of Christ. You got to read Hebrews 8, Hebrews 9. Okay, we're out of time. We'll go back tomorrow and talk about it. All right, hey folks, we're out of time. May the Lord bless you greatly, and by His grace, we'll be back on here tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. God bless. Bye.
Yeah, if Merc Rain is still with us, the mosquito's heart isn't anything like the human heart. So the comparison is illegitimate.
Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, so what happened earlier in the show is, I have, you have a web page that's this big, and I can see the Comrex, I can see all everything was crunched into here, and these little bitty lines. The whole thing went like this, couldn't see anything. It just was a bunch of lines. So I reloaded it, and it didn't work. I had to get out of the browser and reloaded that. Then it worked, but then I had to get back into StreamYard, and then it wouldn't take the setting for the other thing. It was only doing this thing. No, not now. So I had to work with all that, got it solved during the thing while I was doing apologetics and answering questions. All right.
Yeah, I answered Merc Rain's question about the mosquito. It doesn't even have veins and arteries like we do, and he's trying to.
Joanne, did you get the video?
Whoops, I guess Matt's not hearing me. Sorry about that.
Review the video. So the video first stuff. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff. My goal is to do 100 articles in one day. I can do it. If I do it for 8 hours, I could do 100 in one day. But it had to be a day where I got nothing else going. We have finished 226 articles on the new site, and we've touched 354. And they're not all finished because we have to do some categorization issues. So we're getting there. We are getting there. Okay. So there you go. All right. There you go. Okay. Good show, huh? Why doesn't the book remember such a great event as it is that it's not in the book? It's a great creation of why the book doesn't mention it. I have no idea what that means. Sorry.
I wish Matt could hear me.
Did you get the video? I sent you the video. I did. Like a day or two ago. I think I said it yesterday morning. So email me again if you want at info, and I'll just return email to that. Okay, just return email. Yeah, I'm working the articles. So today I've done 43, but I had a doctor's appointment and some other stuff. So that was half a day I did 43. So I'm going to push it and see if I can break 100 one day. Hopefully I can do that. And let's see if I can function afterwards. Charlie's talking to me? Okay, hold on a sec. Let me get the other mic thing in. Okay, hold on. Okay, now try, Charlie.
You there now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, Merc Rain, unfortunately, was without adult supervision this afternoon. So,
are his diapers full?
Well, yeah. So what I did is, in every other sense, I'm not this way, but in this regard, I'm pro-abortion when it comes to chat rooms misbehaviors. Only because the person actually survives and there's no physical harm done to the person that I abort. But in every other way, though, I'm against the hideous practice. But yeah, he was without adult supervision, and even after answering his stupid question about, well, that's uncharitable to say stupid, but his inane question about 3 hearts in a mosquito and why would God do that instead of doing that for a person, he wasn't satisfied with the answer. So
just say,
but it was
ask
good.
God.
It was a good answer.
Ask
Yeah, well,
God.
it's a good answer. Mosquitoes don't have veins and arteries like us and everything. I mean, there's a real good reason for it. And it even pumps, sometimes it pumps toward his head and sometimes it pumps backwards. So, yeah, he's an altogether different creature. And to make the equivalency or the comparison on an equal level is inane.
Inane.
That's the
Inane
G-rated term. Yes.
Inane persiflage. That's right. Yep. So they said they're fixing, or they see typos. We're fixing them all the time in the new art as we go through, because we have Grammarly. Grammarly goes in and finds all kinds of stuff. We're fixing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, Joanne has a good editorial eye for those things. I would be intimidated to write her as I would be intimidated to write her a handwritten letter as much as my English teacher. Because
no, you write a no, you do a handwritten letter. You just do it sloppy so she can't say if it's right or wrong.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. That's what I say, Andrew, to my wife. Don't ask me a question you don't want an answer to. Because one day early in our marriage, she says, "What do you think of this dress on her?" And I said, "You know, I love you. You look good. You're sexy. You know, but I'm gonna just let you know that if you ask me the question, I'm gonna tell you what I honestly think." And she looks at me. She goes, "For real?" And I says, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay. What do you think honestly?" I said, "Don't like it. Don't think it's this. Don't think it's that." She goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You got better stuff I think is great." She goes, "Okay." She wasn't offended at all. She just says, "Okay." And she went and got something else. I went, "Now we're talking, baby." So she's been really good about that kind of stuff.
I remember that TV commercial with Honest Abe being asked by his wife as she looked in the mirror, "Does this make me look heavy?" And he just got a grimace on his face and they cut away.
He's in trouble. Does this make me look fat? I just tell my wife, you ask me, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna pull punches, except when she says something, and I'm obviously joking. She'll go, "Does it make me look good?" Oh boy, I have never in my life seen anything better than that. Then she gets the idea that she goes, "Okay, shut up. I'll just go over here." Yeah, I remember Mork and Mindy. Yep. They said that what he would do on the show, they would have a script. They just gave up trying to direct him. They just go, "Here's what Robin does. He does his stuff." They just don't even worry about him anymore. Here you go. So, all right. I'm going to get me some two Glock 43Xs. One for my wife, one for me. We can't find anything around here. Guns are off the shelves. Ammo's off the shelves. People are getting ready. They're getting ready. They're getting ready. My daughters are getting ready. I got friends that are getting ready. And I'll tell you, and we have got a completely moronic Boise mayor who invited BLM in and is now saying she wants to defund the police. What? These leftist wackos. Ugh. Morons. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, he was depressed. Okay, so now what? I guess we're done. I got to do a Patreon video. North Carolina? Yeah. Just preach Jesus, never mind the politics. But the Bible speaks about politics. And Jesus spoke about it too. So, I'm so glad I don't live in the U.S. right now. Where do you live, Andrew? Where do you live? Don't live in the U.S. right now. I know, it's just ridiculous here. What's happening? I'm entertaining the idea of, we have relatives in France. We've got connections in Colombia. That's about it, though. You know, I don't know if you there's no place to go. Are they going to start living in Wales? Ah, Londonistan. Yeah, not better. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Actually, we talked about me doing a PhD in or doctorate in was it Scotland or Ireland, or I think it was one of those. My wife likes the idea. Like, wow. If I could do it for 1 year, get a doctorate in 1 year, I would. Just crank for 1 year and get a doctorate. I'd like to do that. I'd go there. She said she would do it. I was so sick of school when I graduated, though, with my master's. Oh, man. All right, let's see. No guns, no Ernie. Yeah. Okay. Jimmy Smythe. I don't live there either. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, our country is under attack. And there are videos. I got to show you this one. See if I can, a video you guys have got to watch. Let's see if it's here. It's about a guy who I think he was in the KGB. He came over to America and he was teaching. He left Russia and he was teaching what the KGB is doing. Let's see if this is it. If it is, I will put it up here. Let me check. Yeah. Yep. This is what you guys should watch. You guys should watch this. It's very interesting. And you could write that down, but because you can't copy it, I don't think, from the text. But I would suggest you watch it. It's former KGB agent Yuri Bezmenov warns America about socialist subversion.
Yeah, the link came across great in Facebook and in YouTube.
Good. And there's more stuff that he's done. And yeah, it's like, oh my goodness. In fact, Russians from who've been from Russia come here years and years ago are warning people. This is what happened there. This is the same thing that was going on in communist Russia. This is the same stuff that led to the oppression of people. Oh, when I was listening on the radio today, Carlton on Fox. Carlton, I forgot his name. They had a bit. They played it. Now Christian churches are being attacked, and statues. Not that we were proof of Catholicism, but Mary statues are being desecrated. Churches are being burned in America, and the news isn't covering it. Yep, Khrushchev said, "We'll bury you," and he said, I think he said, "And you will sell us the rope that we'll hang you with," or something like that too. So one of them said that.
He did. Yeah. He also said that we will destroy you from within.
Yep. Yep.
Nikita Khrushchev, the hungry beetle.
Yeah. From within. That's what's happening. It's happening. And the only way to get through this is a revival. We got to get through a revival, or there's going to be a civil war. And I do not want that. But yeah, if I could go to Wales or Ireland and get away for a couple, 3 years and see what happens while I get my degree, I would do it. What's the title of the video? Let me put the title of the video in. Let's see where'd it go. Here we go. Oh, come on. All right, back into that.
I think the title is former KGB agent Yuri Bezmenov warns America about socialist subversion.
Yep.
That's the title I got.
That's what it is. I just put it in the text so people can look at it and follow it. Yeah, I've watched two, or most of the two of, and it's like, yep, this is exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. Bad news. Solon was when it said the rope. Okay. Yeah. Well, the founding fathers said that the Constitution and the nation that they gave us could only work with Christians. That's what they said. Take a sabbatical. What would I do for a sabbatical?
Get your PhD.
Oh, do that. Get my doctorate. I'd love to. I'd love to be able to, seriously, if I could go to Ireland and do a single year there, Ireland or wherever it is, and do a doctorate of ministry, I would do it. Just get there and stay and study my brains out and come back so I could have a doctorate. I think it would help a lot. Here's something. I'm going to ask you guys something here. I'm rambling. Talking to a friend of mine. Several of us were together, and he goes to a church locally, good church, a lot of fellowship, and he wants to reach out. And they're doing Hillsong music, and he's saying you shouldn't do Hillsong music. And he's talking to the people and the pastors and stuff, and they're like, well, okay. And we're just trying to get people to have fellowship and things like that. And he said, well, what's the purpose of the church? And the guy answered correctly. He said, the purpose of the church is to equip the Christians for the work of ministry. I said, okay. And are you doing that? Well, we're focusing on the fellowship. And he says he's thinking about leaving the church. And he says, you've got to be called to do what the church is supposed to be doing. And he said, I happen to know, he goes, a top apologist, that's what he said, and who'd be willing to come in and talk about this. And the guy goes, you mean Matt? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, like that. And wouldn't say anything. And I'm looking at my friend going, what was that about? He goes, I think they're afraid of you. So I said, well, afraid of me? Why? He goes, because you're not going to say what they want to hear. Now, what do you guys think of that?
You mean you're not going to tickle their ears?
No, I wouldn't tickle their ears.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'd say you calling this and that and pastors this and that. Oh, man. Who'd want me to come into their church and rustle the trees and see what falls out? Jeez.
I had a pastor that called that weeding out the riffraff by speaking the truth.
That's right. I call it thinning out the church by preaching the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. If AOC is in charge, there'll be no planes going to Ireland, Matt. Really, why, Randall? Itching ears, yeah. I take a boat then to Ireland. I heard they're really good people and there's some good schools there. I would do it. I would like to do it.
You'll have to sail there because AOC wants to abolish all fossil fuel use.
Have to do a steamboat or a sailboat. AOC is a communist plant. She has got to be a communist plant. That's right. I think the church is going to be purified the next few years. We'll see what's going to happen. Yep. Okay. AOC. I could think of what AOC could stand for. Biden said she would be in charge of environment. Are you serious?
He certainly did allude to that. She's not old enough to run for the highest office yet. She's just waiting to turn, I think it's 35. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way they're talking about her, so good grief.
Whoa. That would be revolution. That would have to be it. At that point, you'd know this country is gone. It'd have to be. You might as well fight at that point, because either way, it's going to go bad.
Yeah, she chased 16,000 jobs out of her district. They came over here to Spokane instead. So,
yeah. She's, yeah.
Or 1,600 jobs. Excuse me, not 16,000.
Oh, from there. Okay. Yeah, she's a witch.
Now, please, you're going to have to apologize to authentic witches.
Yeah.
In my view.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I'm going to take a little break, do my Patreon video. Don't know what on yet. And then work on some articles tonight. A lot of fun.
Yeah, there's the Patreon link for anybody interested.
Okay. Whatever. If you got any new signups. What I do with that, folks, just so you guys know, is I use it to help pay bills. Let's see. Yeah, it stayed the same for a long time. Okay. Oh, I want a Strybog. Absolutely. All right, guys. I'm out of here. God bless. We'll talk to you later,
Blessings.
okay?
Yeah. Blessings all. Yes, thank you.
We'll see ya. Okay, bye.